I think back to the Discord channels of stat sheets and concept art and the terabyte of recordings that our resident D&D lawkeeper has. And I think to myself, let's not neglect the tangible. I think physical objects can store just as much memory as any hard drive. And one of the ways I love doing that is by making my D&D beat arts. Ever since I started D&D 4 years ago, I've explored dozens of worlds and lived through hundreds of adventures. And while those may have only lasted for a few hours at a table, they'll persist in my memory forever. Let's go back to 2022, back when I first introduced D&D to my friends and family. That first campaign was wild. It was entirely homebrewed, but the players had a blast, and I knew we were onto something special there. And so when that campaign ended after about a year and a half of me DMing it, I felt a bit hollow. We didn't have a lot to remember it by, we didn't have a lot of recordings, and around that time, I started making beat art. So I decided every game going forward, all our PCs, all our important characters, I would make them. And as a testament to that, this is Quayon. Quayon was my first ever D&D character, and honestly is my favorite. Quayon's shtick was being so unbelievably weak, and yet somehow making his way through fights using a powerful mind control item. Here's the items. They're called the Teeth of Dragoon, and they were a homebrew item made up so that Quayon could facilitate his lack of strength by taking over the strength of others. Oftentimes, these mementos end up going in a drawer and being quietly forgotten, which is not what we make them for. So maybe you'd want to make your memento something that you use or would love to look at. For example, some kind of D&D diorama. As a DM, it's always so useful just having a bunch of characters you can pull out whenever you have a new encounter. And they're already baked in with the personalities and the backstory and the character arcs of the people who piloted them, either myself or some of my players. But of course, your mementos don't need to be beat art or necessarily characters. They can be whatever you want. Like, for example, I have an entire sword made out of junk that's inspired by one of my games that I made a while back. Check her out. And so my future aim for mementos is to create a world that can fit in this chest. These mementos don't just remind me of the games I played. They remind me of who I was when I played them. And maybe that's the real magic. Not that the adventure ended, but that a piece of it exists, ready to bring it all rushing back.